Now, the last time I did it, I really was like baked out of my mind. I had 2 cookies, a brownie, and this infused Hennessy. Yeah, over Ryan's house. Like, Ryan's just like, you might not like this, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, if it's liquor, like, I'm not going to have a problem with it. Like, I can't taste it, so, you know. And I took the shot, dude, and then we sat down, and then he starts rolling a blunt. And I'm like, all right. So he just starts smoking it, and he's like, hey, my wife is here. Can you help us move the stuff in the house? I was like, sure. We get outside, and, like, I'm standing there on the hill. You've seen Ryan's driveway. Yeah. I'm standing on the hill, and I have this bottle of juice in my hand, and I'm just sitting there looking in the back seat, and then, like, the bottle just falls out of my hand, and I'm just, like, looking down. I'm like, that's how high I am. And then, like, I grabbed this computer chair and, like, moved it in the door, and I, like, kept thinking I was going to break the door, even though I had the computer chair on the ground. And I was like, dude, I gotta get the out of here. So I started, like, looking around, and the only person I saw was one of the kids. And I was like, hey, where's the adults? And the kid was looking at me like I was an alien. They were just like, you walked in the house behind them. And I'm like, yeah, but where are they now? I lost them when I put the chair down. And then, like, Ryan comes down the stairs, and I'm like, hey, man, like, I gotta take off. And he's like, yeah. I was like, yeah. Dude, I got back to the crib, and I wanted to watch Billy on the Street, but I passed out. It all hit me at once as soon as I got to the house. Like, I got my keys in the door, and was going downstairs, getting my little station set up. The kit, you know, you got to get your pajamas ready. You got to go take a shower. You got to off in the shower. You put your pajamas on, preferably sweatpants in the air conditioning. Yeah. And I got this badass Friends hoodie. The inside, like, the fabric is immaculate. And, like, I put all that on. I turned Billy on the Street on, and then I just, like, leaned back, and I was just done, dude. I woke up like 3 hours later, still feeling it, and I was hungry as hell. Yeah, I'm trying to get Ryan to make some more.
That's heavy, dude.
Like, it was almost like an acid trip.
I've done acid.
I've had a couple. I had a friend that did acid. So.
A few times. It's probably my favorite drug. Like, LSD, it's harmless. I mean, unless you, like, want to, like, freak out or do anything other than that. Like, if you just, like, chill and vibe, like, it's fine. Like, it's perfectly fine. Now, I did have a bad trip once when I mixed shrooms and ecstasy.
Oh, my goodness.
How'd that go?
This sounds like a...
It was when I was working at Forward Air, and there was this one guy who was selling ecstasy, and I had the connection to get the LSD and the shrooms, and he told me, he was like, yeah, you know, I got those for cheap, and I was like, well, how much? And he was like, I'll give you 3 for 10. I was like, all right, bet. And they were emojis. Yeah. They were emojis, and he said everybody liked the 100s, but they weren't sure about the alien heads. And I said, okay, well, he was like, I'll give you 3 the 100s and give you 2 alien heads just so you can gauge it and let me know what you think. I said, okay. And Saturday came, and we had to work on Saturdays, but I said, no. I went in, and I said, nah, this, and then I walked back out and went back to my car. And I get home, I took the shrooms, and I played like two missions on Warframe. And then I was like, I looked, and like right next to my PlayStation were those pills, and I was like, man, let me try one. And then I'm sitting there playing the game, and I noticed that I was really focusing on the fabric, like the texture of the knobs on the PlayStation, the R3 and the L3. And then I was just like, all right, yeah, we could work with this. And then, like, I ended up turning that off and turning Rick and Morty on. Yeah. And then, like, I don't like to get into bed without taking a shower first. I don't like bringing the stink of the day with me.
Yeah.
So I go and take a shower, and I go to wash my hair. And, like, that was when the ecstasy kicked in. And, like, when the ecstasy kicked in, I was just washing my hair, and I got the biggest fucking boner from washing my hair. And I was scrubbing that for like 45 minutes. And then, and this is when my dreads, like the tips of them were still like that light brown color, and like I would wear them in that ponytail on the top of my head. And like I went back downstairs, and for some reason like my bed wasn't up to standard, so I was just like fixing it. And then like I took the ponytail holder out, and then the dreads just draped over my face like this, and they looked like tarantula legs. You remember my mom's basement? I jumped so hard my head hit that vent that was right above my bed. Oh dude, I cleared easily a foot or two just. And then I ran upstairs to see what was going on, to look in the mirror, and then you're supposed to avoid mirrors.
Yeah.
I don't. I love looking at mirrors.
My friend Gary said that the only reason he avoids looking at mirrors is because he's afraid of what he might see looking back.
I love looking at mirrors on acid. I went this time and looked in the mirror, and I saw fucking 6 eyes looking back at me. And I said, there's a fucking spider on my head. Listen, and then when I made that discovery, I said, all right, we gotta pull ourselves together. I turned the bathroom light off and opened the door. As soon as I stepped out, it starts thundering outside.
Oh no.
Dude, it was the worst trip. And I've had some pretty interesting ones. Like one time when me and Haley were tripping in Indiana, and we lived really close to this like power plant. And like the lights off of it flash, and you can see them from our backyard. But like for some reason, we were so high and didn't think that was that, and we were just like talking about UFOs.
Oh my god!
And then, like I just kept thinking, like these red and green lights are like they're just staying in one place. It's almost as if they're stationary and not UFOs. And I remember looking over at her. And like it looked like her face was like melting and stuff like that. Yeah. And then like she would look like characters from like the real scary stories to tell in the dark, like shit like that. Yeah. And like our roommate at the time, Matt, he comes outside and like he was mad because his wife was tripping with us, and I don't know if he thought that we were like trying something with her, but like we were just cool, you know, we're just vibing and tripping. And he came outside, and for some reason the energy he gave off made his teeth look like the swords off of Aladdin. and like it just got really quiet, and I just went, "You always have daggers for teeth?" He's like, "What?" And I'm like, None.
Scimitars.
Yeah, dude.
Scimitar. Speaking of bad trips, my friend Silas, he dropped acid for the first time maybe a couple months ago.
How do you like it?
Oh, it was a bad trip.
Oh,
he
shit.
texted me, he was like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Not much." Why? It was like almost midnight. He's like, "Could you come over and like sit with me?" I dropped acid, and I'm not doing so good. And I came over, and he was sitting in his recliner, and he's kind of like this, just looking around. They're watching this volleyball anime. Him and his roommate, his cousin Gary. And then their friend, they're on the couch, and they're like, well, I think it's called Haikyuu or something. Yeah, I think it's Haikyuu, yeah.
Yeah, Zoe loves that.
They're sitting there, Sal's sitting there, and he's just like, I like walk over, I'm like, "You okay, bud?" He's like, "No." And I sit down on I sit down next to the recliner on the floor, and I'm looking up at him, and he like holds out his hand, and I'm like sitting there holding his hand, or watching Haikyuu, and I'm like, "You doing okay?" He's like, "Getting a little bit better now."
Yeah.
And they did liquids. They didn't take a.
So they took it straight. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
And they were at their peak too, so they were about 6 hours in roughly.
Yeah.
And Gary said, "When I washed my hands, man, I had to look down. I can't look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I don't want to see." And Silas said, "I had the scariest thing happen earlier." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "What?" He looked. He said, "I saw the ceiling dripping."
Yeah.
And I was like,
"Dude,
whoa." He said, "Yeah, I looked away before it touched the floor." And I said, "Have you looked?" He's like, "I haven't looked back yet. I'm not looking back."
Yeah.
I'm not looking back. I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm gonna see like a piece of like ceiling dripping onto like the floor, like sitting on the floor. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, that's not okay." And the only reason I know about like the kind of shit that like happens with acid is because my friend Eddie also dropped acid before, and he's like, "I've only ever done it like maybe twice." I'm like, "How many times are you supposed to do it in your lifetime?" He said, "Only once." And then after that, it starts deteriorating your brain.
Yeah. After
I am not.
One time I did some, and I had a 17-hour peak, and I was
17 hours.
17 hours. Yeah, 17 hours.
Oof.
I ate
I mean,
a lot
yeah, they
of-
say that you're supposed to take like a whole day for like acid
Yeah.
just because
I've always taken it like at night for some reason, and like when I hit my peak, I was looking at a ceiling like this, and I kept thinking to myself like, I bet you if I take my phone and throw it at it, it'll splash. I was like, I bet you it'll have ripples. And the person I was tripping with was like, Todd, don't do it. I said, Todd, gonna do it. He was like, don't do it. And I just went just like this. And it came right back. Bam! Right on my face.
Oh. My friend Eddie said that he tried DMT, and he said he went down to Arizona, and his friend down in Tucson. He said it was one of the ones where you have to just like hold it, and he said it's like inhaling like out of a car pipe. He said it tasted awful. It was disgusting. The high lasted only for like 2 seconds.
Oh.
He said it was just bad.
Gotta do the toe. Sorry.
Mhm.
They extract the toe.
Yeah.
That's the next step for you.
My buddy John, the one, a Native American guy,
Yeah.
his uncle makes peyote. I want to.
Have you heard Mike Tyson talking about his trips to the podcast?
No.
The hot boxing.
Uh-uh.
And I'm gonna try and find some clips.
I
What
saw
is
that. I
peyote?
saw. It's a hallucinogen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Is it cactus related? Because I feel like I've
it's
heard
a
of it.
plant, and it takes a really long time to grow. He said.
Mm.
So, in closing, just remember, people, look both ways before crossing the street. Warning signs aren't there to protect you from danger. They're there to protect stupid people from themselves.
Yeah.